digits in the polls for most of this campaign, and you have not received clear endorsement from either Republican Governor Jody Rell or from President Bush, which is highly unusual for the GOP nominee. Is there something else at play here? What do you think party leaders are sending a subtle message that it's okay for Republicans to vote for somebody else in this campaign?
Before I get into that question, Steve, I have to raise a point here. Joe, your time has run out. No pun intended.
Only today, the voters will have the last word on October 7th.
Steve, I think you know that this is a very unusual election. There are a lot of agendas at work here. You know, my good friend Joe Lieberman has, sometimes I think it's almost like a boxing match where the president hugs Joe, and Joe keeps punching away at the president, and they're in this struggle. But we all know, we watch the news. We know that Joe Lieberman has had a relationship with George Bush on Iraq. It puts the administration in a precarious position. There are other relationships that are at work here that I'm not going to get into any detail on. All I'm going to say is very simple. Most of the Republicans in the state of Connecticut who know me are all supporting it. They all feel very confident about my leadership. And even Jody Rell last week, when asked, said, when you want policy, you want solutions, you want Alan Slesinger. Well, that's coming right from the governor. So you don't have to take it from me. The leaders in this party, I see some of them around the room here, know that they're strongly behind it. As a matter of fact, the state chairman of the Republican Party went as far as to write a letter to all town committees and said, let's put all this aside. Alan Slesinger is a great candidate. Let's get behind him. I feel that here today, we're going to change things. I feel that the media basically said, you know, this Slesinger, we're throwing him under the bus. It's going to make it real easy for us to cover this race because now we only have to cover 2 candidates. Throw him under the bus. But I'm here to tell you today, I'm come up off of that ground. I'm brushing myself off. Look out, Ned and Joe. Here I come, baby.
Look, you're going to come back. I got in this race. I had absolutely no support at all. The party brass said it can't be done. Don't challenge a 3-term incumbent. All the insiders said, don't give it a try. I said, I don't care. I got my little Ford Escape hybrid. I started driving flat out around the state, putting 1,000 miles a week, going anywhere I could. And so is happening now, and people do want to change. They want a fundamental change. So don't worry about what the insiders say. Don't worry about what the party brass says. Just hang in there, say your piece, look people in the eye, and say what it means. I got to say, though, that you're wrong when it comes to Senator Lieberman and George Bush. Yes,
George, sorry, I have to cut you off because we run out of the time. This time of debate time. I don't know if we're all going to get free pizza here, but we sure have. Thank you, John. Now it's time for our closing statements, and we begin with Mr. Schlesinger. I'd like to thank Channels 1230 and the Business Council for sponsoring this debate, and I would like to thank you here and at home for watching. From its inception, the media has attempted to turn this election into some type of a democratic referendum on the future of their party. A kiss from George Bush versus a hug from Al Sharpton. A horse race framed by liberal internet bloggers and then validated by the bias of the Hartford Courant and the New York Times. You know, if you're a moderate or conservative voter, you're probably afraid of Ned Lamont. And I understand that. But with all due respect, Joe Lieberman is not your safe harbor. Joe Lieberman will tell you straight out he votes 90% of the time with the Democratic leadership. He's proud of his liberal record, as he should be, if that's how he feels. And he's told you he's going to continue to caucus with the Democrats if elected. He's even pandered and unsuccessfully sought the support of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. He has a fiscal voting record that's identical to Ted Kennedy and Hillary Clinton. And that's okay, too, if you don't happen to be a Republican or a moderate. And despite his rhetoric for 36 years, he's basically thumbed his nose at any conservative initiative that's come across his desk. It just doesn't make sense for a Republican or a conservative or even a moderate to vote for Joe Lieberman. I ask for your support. As my numbers grow, you will be able to take pride and comfort in knowing that your concerns and views have been respected, represented, and most importantly, counted. Together, we can show the drive-by media and the special interest that all this can be overcome by common sense and principles. Don't waste your vote on either of these liberal Democrats.
Mr. Schlesinger, on that note, your time is up. Mr. Lamont, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. This debate, this campaign is all about change. I think things are fundamentally broken in Washington, D.C., and more of the same won't fix it. I'm a Connecticut business person who thinks this country is going in the wrong direction. I'm running against a career politician who says stay the course. I had the good fortune to start up a business from scratch. We took on the largest cable TV conglomerates in the country. Small business like a family. We worked together. We worked hard. We met payroll. We provided good health care. We hit budgets. We had good times and bad times. As we went forward, you work harder, you work smarter, you beat the competition. And when you see a problem, you don't kick it down the road, you try and fix it. That's the real world experience I'm going to bring to Washington, D.C. I'm going to stand up to the Bush-Cheney administration. I think they made our country weaker. I think it's time for us now to redeploy our forces from Iraq and make for a safer America. I'm going to stand up to the lobbyists and their campaigning checks. I'm not going to take their money, and I don't need it. And it won't take me 18 years to fight for real health care reform that makes coverage universal for everybody and brings down the cost for small business. And I'm going to stand up to those 2 oil men in the White House and put in place a real plan for energy independence and energy reform. Senator, it was 18 years ago that you looked your Senate colleague, your Senate opponent in the eye, and you said 18 years is enough. You said after 18 years you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Well, Senator, it's been 3 terms, it's been 18 years, now you're part of that problem. Time's up. If I go around the state of Connecticut, people tell me they want leaders to think bold thoughts, stand up, say what you mean what you say. As I get down to Washington, D.C., I'm going to fight to change the status quo, fight to change that culture down there in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to fight for the people of Connecticut. My name is Ned Lamont. I can sure use your vote on November 7th.
Joe Lieberman, your 2 minutes.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks to everybody. This has been a good debate because it showed the choice that the people of Connecticut have. All of us, in one way or another, the 3 of us, agree that the country's headed in the wrong direction, but we have very different ideas about how to make it better. My 2 opponents have really taken classic partisan responses to the choices we have to make. Ned Lamont particularly has run a party. In effect, he's saying that he's running against me because I'm not partisan enough. His finger-pointing, partisan blame-giving, petty political accusations is the last thing that Washington needs more of. It needs people who will rise above party and serve the public interest of the people who are good enough to send them to Washington. It needs people like myself who understand that neither party has a monopoly on good ideas. And therefore, we ought to sit around a table together as Americans and try to find the best that both parties have to offer and make for progress. That's what I've done for 18 years, and it's produced results. Just in this session, I worked with my colleagues in both parties to pass the Long Island Sound Stewardship Act to clean up this treasure, natural treasure that we have. I mentioned port security to keep us safer. Senator Collins and I co-chaired a hard-hitting investigation of the way in which the government failed to protect the residents of the Gulf Coast in Hurricane Katrina, and then passed a strong FEMA reorganization bill. I want to keep doing that. That's the change we need. Ned Lamont would recommend change for the worse. He would make the place more partisan and less productive. I want to go back and work with my colleagues across party lines, and I will be strengthened now as a